Welcome guys, and in today's video we're going to be roasting some of my old tattoos. Now keep in mind this is from a while back, and these are tattoos that I took photos of. And believe me, if I took a photo of it back then, that meant I liked it. I loved it. I was over the moon more than likely about it. I got about 6 of them. I was able to find in an old portfolio. Blew my mind that I had them. I kind of wish I would have had the tattoos that were really bad that I lose sleep over sometimes if I think about them. So the first one we're going to take a look at is this one right here. Now I know just taking a look at it right off the bat, I was like, oh no. In what world is this crown a thing? I mean, in what world does the front lower than the back and the side taller? I mean, it was just jacked up. But I remember this tattoo. I remember finishing it and being like, dang. There it is. That's the tattoo. Like, the Roman numerals were there. They're nice and fat. You could see them. Got this cool crown sitting on the top. The client was, jacked about it. At least I thought he was. I mean, he seemed pretty excited. I mean, he could have just been excited to get the heck out of there. I have no idea. Looking back on it now, I think that the Roman numerals themselves had a little bit of an arc to them. They weren't quite straight. I didn't take the time to put the stencil on properly or really make sure everything was perfect. Back then, it was slap it on, peel it off. Is it good? You said it might be good. We're going to call that good. Boom. Tattoo it. The lines going around the crown just are shaky. They're not proportionate. You got this sort of oblong looking thing. But it's remarkable that we can be excited about a tattoo like that. And I was excited. But that was one step closer to getting where I am today. So if that was a king's crown, this would be a queen's crown, if you will. Now on this one, I didn't hate the crown so much because, well, it's pretty straightforward. But when it comes to the queen itself, I don't know. I could have done so much more with this, especially with it be filled in black. Why couldn't I just come back through there and smooth some of these things out? Like the Q is just kind of bleh. The E's are going to eat themselves. Those are going to close up pretty soon or over time because it's just too close together. Not to mention, they're not the same. If you're going to have 2 E's right next to each other, they should more than likely be the same. And of course, the end. I mean, there's just so many little things when I look at this and they go, what the heck, Dave? It was black. You could have really done some stuff here. You could have smoothed this out. You could have fixed it. They didn't have to be one pass lines. They didn't have to look perfect, but you can go back in there and sculpt that sucker out. Nonetheless, this is what it was. I remember being pretty jacked on it. I did notice the Q at the time, thinking, I wish I could fix that. Maybe I didn't know how. I don't know. But I was happy about it. I took a photo of it. If I took a photo of it, I thought it was decent. So, again, starting somewhere. The next one I feel so bad about. It was a suicide awareness tattoo. I remember it was a girl. She came with her family. They were stoked to get this tattoo. And I remember feeling the pressure of the world. Because if you notice, there's a circle. Another circle with like a little thing coming off of it, right? Obviously, semicolon. But at the time, circles scared me. Anything round scared me. Rightfully so. I barely knew what I was doing. So I remember this coming in, and then she wanted really small lines going across wording with some red wording. Now that I look back on this, you zoom in, I can see the blowouts in the black lettering going across. Just not my proudest moment. But I took a photo of this. I was happy about this. And I could see there being a time when I would have been happy about this. I just hope that someday I look back at my current work and go, dang. I thought that was good because that means we're really somewhere, and I'm hoping that's going to happen. I do look back on some of my work already that I've currently done and go, I could have done that better, so that's good to know. Now back to this circle here. She wanted it red, just the red semicolons, but I thought I knew better. I was going to put a little bit of shading in there, was going to give those circles a little bit more of like a circular look and whatnot, and that fell flat. You barely see it. It kind of looks like it's just black mushed in with red. It's not the most fantastic, especially down in the bottom of the semicolon. But you live and you learn, guys. She was happy with the tattoo. Again, at least that's what she told me. Who knows? She may have left the shop, went down, and booked an appointment for a month when that heals to get it covered. Again, I don't know. But it was another step in my journey. I remember liking it. So let's move on. Our next piece is a Wild Heart. I have no idea what Wild Heart is, what it's about, but I do remember the 2 girls that came into that shop. It was only me there. Everybody else was gone. It was a horribly ran operation, I guess. I shouldn't have been there by myself. But again, water under the bridge. So I tried to tell these girls, like, look, I'm learning and I barely know what I'm doing. I don't want to, do these tattoos. I can book you an appointment. I can book you an appointment for when the artists are back. No, 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 no. She was dead set on it. And once I confirmed she was dead set on it, I was like, all right, we're going to do this. What I did differently here was I was taught single pass lines. But at the time, I didn't know how to pull single pass lines. This stuff was shaky. I don't know. It was just too much for me to understand at the time, and I wasn't getting properly trained. I think with proper training, I could have figured that out and we would have been zooming down the road. But nonetheless, I sculpted this entire thing. So I sat there with my liner and slowly put in lines and shaded, and it took forever. But at the end was a tattoo that looked decent to me. At the time, I remember being like super stoked on this tattoo right here. I remember coming home showing my wife. She was so supportive, thank you. I look back on it now, and because of those scratchy lines, because there was no outline, you can see like a haze around the tattoo where there's no solid line holding, the black in, if you will. So as time goes on, this is going to spread even quicker. As it heals, it's going to, over time, spread out more because it doesn't have anything really holding it in. Not to mention the E is probably going to close up as well because, again, I was getting too close to the lines there and things were, things weren't working the way I wanted them to. But at the time, again, super jazzed on this, guys. So remember, you can be super excited about where you're at, but constantly try to push forward. The goal is to, in a year, 2 years, be able to look back and go, dang, I remember loving that then, and now I can look at it and go, I could do way better now. That's the goal here, okay? And looking back on these, some of them I was kind of shocked. I have some other photos I looked at that were, decent. I thought, wow. I remember not knowing what the heck I was doing back then, but every once in a while, I would get lucky, and we'll talk about that with this next one. This one right here would be one of those tattoos that I just got lucky with. I was using a coil machine back then. I didn't exactly know how to set up this machine, so every time I set it up, the needles were coming out at different distances. It was hit or miss. If I got it set up properly, that tattoo was probably going to be decent. If I didn't, it wasn't going to be good. I mean, the lines, looking at it now, they're not the greatest, but at the time, they were some of the best I was producing, and they were single pass. I put the needle on, and the line was there. Oh, I was in like tattoo heaven at the time. And then I remember in the shop I worked at, when it came to shading, everybody just used whatever color and black. Well, I was, on YouTube trying to learn stuff at the time. And people were adding color to their color to make it dark. So that's what I started doing here. I liked the outcome. I probably should have put a little bit more depth in this piece. But as a whole, I was packing color and I was happy with the outcome. Where things went flat for me is, what is this background? What are these lightning bolt-like things? I have no idea. I remember talking to the guy about it. We thought this was a cool idea. I think this is supposed to be some sort of like water. I don't know. I don't know. That's why this is on this list, mainly because of just poor choice. But again, it's so cool to have these pieces to look back on, because this one, again, guys, these are the ones I was stoked about. This is the creme de la creme of the time. There was plenty that were like, not so good. But again, I really did like this one. I was happy about this one. I got to see different things happen. There's times you do tattoos and it can still come out not the greatest, but you did something different, or you just tried something and it worked. The rest of the tattoo, who cared about it? Not the greatest, as long as the client likes it. But that one thing, you're like, wow, I've added a new tool to my toolbox, and that's what happened here. So this was a cool one. The guy was super cool. I never saw him again, so maybe he wasn't digging it as much as I thought. And that leads me to the last piece we're going to talk about today, and that is this piece that is on my leg currently. I remember I wanted to practice. I was at the shop. There was nothing to do. Nobody was there, so I just slapped this stencil on my leg and tattooed it. So let's talk about this tattoo, and then I'm going to tell you what I learned from this tattoo. The lining in this, it could have been better, definitely. Thinking about where I was at and what I was doing, not too bad. The color's a little splotchy here and there. Luckily, when tattoos heal, sometimes they look a lot better when they're healed. You lose that like freshness, but when it's a little rough around the edges, things soften out And so did this piece, thankfully. It doesn't seem as patchy. The greens and the reds all settled down. There's a few lines on here that are really killing me. But again, I was in the midst of it and I was trying to learn the rifle. I mean, I can go on in details all the little things in this one that were just not the greatest. But the biggest thing I want to talk about here is how we learn by mistakes. Guys, I put this tattoo on in this position. Let me show you, okay? So I was sitting there like this, got my stencil, slapped it on my leg. In fact, let's take a look at that real quick. Boom, there it is. I don't know if you'll be able to see this too well in the video, but I put it on my leg like that. I tattooed the sucker, didn't move the entire time, tattooed it, then got up to take a look in the mirror. And I don't know if you can tell in this photo, in this video either, but look at that helmet. It stretched right out. It does not look the same anymore. The helmet was supposed to look like this. Okay? Flatter. But when you put the stencil on in the position you're at, when you move your body, that stencil changes. So I learned put the stencil on in the natural position and then tattoo it. So minus its obvious downfalls, I learned something from that tattoo. And I think that is the big thing to take away from all of this. Learn from every tattoo. Some aren't going to be great in the beginning. It's the beginning. You're learning things. Try to make wise choices. Don't do huge tattoos when you're not sure what's going on. Little by little, take the little wins. Every one of those tattoos I showed you, there was a small win there. Of course, I felt like it was this big, but there was a small win. And these little wins add up. And over time, you'll see your work develop and improve. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, ring the bell to get notifications when we post. Until next time, peace.